Please. Further.
How's the air in Bakersfield?
It's bad, not like up here. This is bad this morning.
Yeah.
Yesterday it didn't look as bad, but the smell was bad. I mean, you can smell smoke, but today it's just, I mean, it's orange out there.
We're recording.
Morning.
Morning, Chet.
Morning, guys.
Morning. You look fresh this morning.
I have potatoes.
Get about 2 more minutes. Did we ever call meetings early? Is that you can't? You can't.
No.
No, necessarily over there.
And his Jets in Bishop or somewhere else.
Apple Valley?
Apple Valley. Does he have the money there? Now that's Chet that looks like a telephone.
Most likely. Oh, no. Yesterday he did that. It's on big, it's on audio one.
Well, yeah,
use a cell phone for the
If
other.
you're using your phone for audio, you have to link them to your name. And so if you didn't do that, you'll see 2 icons, one first name, one first name.
Right.
I'm sure it is.
Where's it gonna go?
We hope so.
I got the music thing this year. Zoom is one of those sheets.
Yeah, and then
On
get
Monday.
hacked and stuff like this and
They were
so
down.
on the East Coast, not here.
Awesome.
That's the trouble. That's even putting more pressure because the schools are now all getting back in session, so they're all starting to Zoom.
But they can communicate better on Zoom because at least they got some interaction other than text.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
that's a good thing. Almost face to face.
Training technology.
Sad over here, so I'm going to spit on somebody and beat the screen. All right.
It's good to me.
Okay, we call the meeting to order, 26th of August. For the Finance Committee meeting. Are there any changes to the agenda?
We can move mine up.
Okay, we'll move carries from the bottom up. Okay.
Can we also move my CER up to the beginning?
Yes. Okay.
What about Tiffany's? Will she be coming?
She's got something to do this morning, but she said she will be joining us later on. So I'm not sure when she's going to attend. She's down at HR this morning.
Yeah. If there are no corrections to the agenda, it'll be our minutes from the last meeting. It will be approved as presented. No corrections. Any public comment? I don't see anyone from the public.
Oh.
All right, then finance statement, is that Chet that takes over from here?
No, it starts with me.
Oh, it starts with Barbara.
So if you want to go, we are reporting on July, the first night in our new fiscal year. So year to date and month are going to be the same numbers. Page 16 is your staff page or your volumes. And that's what drives everything else throughout the district. 16 on the bottom. Page 16.
Okay, now, were they supposed to go before you even started?
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
You're right.
I was thinking that, but
Carrie
I was
said,
like, well, whatever.
You asked me about the consent, that's what I'm saying.
I was like, I guess I will have to sit through it.
Carrie.
Okay, so this project was, I'm not sure what page it's on.
It's on page 29.
Okay, so this project was already approved by the board, but there is a change in cost that's coming. When this was presented to the board, the initial cost for the interface to set it up was $9,000 between us and Evident to get all of that patient information to transfer from Nucleus to Evident, and then there are various systems so that everybody has access to reports in an easy manner. But the change comes from upon data discovery, what they were doing is because Evident had never done an interface for Nucleus before, so there was this whole like data discovery thing where they provided a preliminary quote of the 9,000, then a data discovery process took place. Upon that, it was discovered that we need a link to the patient images from Evident back to Nucleus. So when a doctor or nurse or whomever is looking at the patient within Evident, they're able to click that and it then pulls up the images of whatever radiology study was done. So that was discovered when they were doing this whole data discovery process, which added a cost increase of $9,000. However, we negotiated with Evident and they were able to give us a 20% discount. 2% discount on this for the entire project. So of the $18,000, they took 20% off, so we're at $3,600 off. And then, furthermore, we were able to reduce the cost of a data migration that was presented to the board by $2,510. So overall cost increase for this whole thing, $2,890. That we are increasing the cost of this project to add that interface. So there were some things that were reduced, some things that were added, and some discounts that were applied that took that what would have been $9,000 down to $2,890 for the cost increase. So that's what I am asking for approval on.
And the foundation.
Yeah, thank you. Foundation.
The auxiliary. The auxiliary.
Yeah, the auxiliary has agreed to pay for $6,500. Yeah, so even though this is only costing $2,890, I attended their board meeting, I think it was last week, and they've agreed to cover $6,500 of this. So that will kind of reduce the overall burden on the hospital by even more than what was originally presented.
We need a motion to submit to consent.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Second.
okay, so consent. Now you've got something else to say.
I think so.
Okay, now, we were talking before, and Barbara's probably the one I should talk to, not here, about basically the cost of everything and how much the renewal is and what, if we could see a picture of what you're doing, what your renewals are, what we can expect just from tech. Barbara, do you see what I'm saying?
That's in the budget.
Oh, well,
We can pull
a
that out.
picture of what we, so we can see,
Just an ongoing expense
right,
situation for IT.
and like a chart where we can see what's going on and where it's fitting in, a little puzzle, to make it easier for us to understand. You understand it, inside, upside down.
Well, some of it.
But we just a little bit, give us a little idea, a little more information. So, but you know, big deal.
It will just take us a little bit of time to
Yeah,
make sure we have all the.
we got a lot of time. We're gonna be here forever. You mean later than today?
I do.
Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, I do have a question. Do we need to, in terms of presenting this to general board, like,
So I go on all the agenda. So like I said, you should be there just in case someone has any questions or whatever. But normally I just right.
I'm just trying to figure out when I should proceed and sign things and move things forward, so we'll wait till after. All right, thank you, guys. Any other questions on this? No? All right.
Awesome.
And Mark wanted to go.
Mark, right.
Hey, guys. So if you turn to page 36 in your packet, it starts out with the CER that I have before you. There are 2 barrier screens that we are going to be using to catch up our skilled nursing facility to the mitigation plan. And what we've decided, the north end of Hall 3 will be used to house COVID suspected and COVID positive residents should the need arise. The reason I want to expedite this is because it seems that we've seen a couple of COVID positive patients come out of that skilled nursing facility and a couple of positive staff members. So we're kind of trying to get ahead of the ball game. And these screens that we have, and I can show them to you. If you look, let's go down to, I'm kind of scrolling through in my, I don't have a picture of them there, darn it, sorry. But they're a screen that is mobile, it's portable, it's on wheels, and it actually extends out and it'll provide a barrier so that we don't have to do a big construction project. This is simply identifying areas of the facility where we don't want any other people to enter, so we can extend these barriers out to just create a barrier.
Just to go across the hallway.
Just go right across the hallway.
You don't enter because that's either, and the area closest to where the well residents are will be the yellow zone, which is where what people are, we suspect might have it. That, or we're waiting for a test result to come back, the negative test result to come back, so we can move them back to the other side. Our plan has always been to move them to this side, you know, if they're positive and stuff like that first. The only time we would ever use that would be in the event that it's over, we don't have enough volume or room on this side because of staffing issues or whatever, we would then have to move them to the other side. And so, but it is necessary. Department of Health Services suggested.
Question, Tim, will this just be for quarantine patients?
Our hope is that we don't use it for anything more than quarantine patients, right?
You're talking about COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly COVID. Yeah.
Again, the yellow and the red dictate where those residents will be placed. If they should come back positive from the yellow zone, they'll be moved into the red zone. And the nice thing about movable barriers is we can move those barriers with those results.
So depending on how many red patients you have, you can move the screen down the hallway and pick up extra rooms and beds, or you can shrink it up as obviously we have.
These are going to be COVID covered costs also.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need a motion to send it to consent?
Yes.
Okay, John made a motion.
I'll second.
And I really want to urge that we have to get on this and get these ordered real soon.
Yeah. Mark, on the testing for the skilled nursing, I watch TV once in a while, and probably should. There's another 2.5 billion just to help the skilled nurse or the senior programs, nursing homes they call them on there. I think we fall in that category. for testing equipment. And there's so much equipment that's available. It costs a lot of money, but it works for us. Are we in line for that?
We actually got $84,000.
I know that, but that's
that we're going to use for that equipment.
I know, but there's more.
There's more coming. We haven't been allocated yet. So we don't know what that allocation will look like.
Okay.
Or how that.
That would be up to Rebecca and Chet to discuss how to get access to those funds and what pieces of equipment to purchase for testing.
But you're aware of what needs to be purchased, right?
Agreed.
Yes. Yeah, Rebecca has been researching that now, trying to find one that will not only work for COVID, but for other things, but also one that we can actually get reagents for.
Right.
That's the key thing.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Now back to Barbara. You're 17.
So it is page 16.
Excuse me one second. I have to step away for a few minutes, but I will be back.
Okay, page 16 is the volumes for the month of July. On the acute floor, they had a total average daily census of 6. Our budget was 5.9. There were 3.6 days for acute patients and 2.5 average for swing bed patients. The prior year for the same month, we only had an average of 4.9. The average daily census of the long-term care was 52.7. Our budget was set to be 55.1. And last year we had 58.9. ER visits for the month were 566, or 556. And of those patients, we admitted 4.68% of them, so higher than we've been doing. Last year, we admitted 3.61, and our budget was to admit 3.82. Of course, we were below in visits, but visits are continuing to increase even this month. I think
the census is actually looking much better this month. We're ahead of budget for census on the acute unit. On ER is well over 20 a day, which is great. Clinic is good.
Outpatients, those are our referred outpatients and any registration for outpatient services. We had 1,528. Some of that comes from the COVID testing, the large increase. Our budget was to be at 1,105. The clinic, their volumes are up. They saw 1,550 primary care visits and 336 specialty visits. Those would be the telemedicine primarily. Outpatient scopes were 43. Our budget was 34. Retail pharmacy filled 3,320 scripts, and their budget was 3,436. The prior year for the same month, they filled 3,697. Does anybody have any questions on any of the volumes?
The skilled nursing's down a little bit because of COVID.
Yeah, it's mostly COVID.
And the pharmacy, why is it downtrending?
It's a good question. Not sure why. We'll have to go back and relook at that. I can't tell. I think that was actually the 3697 was a really high month. You know, we average normally about 33 to 3,400 down there. So, you know, and I think that's why budget was set at 34. So it was down a little bit.
Any questions? You want to go back to page 11? Will be the revenues and expenses for the month. We generated $9,870,000 in revenue, which is 481 below what our budget was. In the prior year, we had generated $9,794,000. This was a fairly good revenue month. After our deductions, we had a total operating revenue of $2,409,000 against a budget of $2,675,000. Our expenses for the month were $2,507,000 against a budget of $2,675,000. The prior year they were $2,315,000. Then with our non-operating revenues and expenses, we ended the month with a loss of $74,182. We did not receive any IGT payments in the month of July, nor did we pay any out. Does anybody have any questions?
The total operating revenue being down, we've been getting income from COVID. We haven't gotten anything from COVID. Or would it count in there?
No, that's patient charge revenue.
Okay, okay.
Any other questions? The year to date will be exactly the same on the following page. So if you want to go to page 22.
Just take a quick look at page 13, if you can. It kind of compared, I just was looking at this last night, just looking at, how we fared in June revenue-wise versus July. You can see the significant increases. Inpatient revenue was up by 18%, clinic revenue was up 21%, outpatient revenue 16%, 8% for long-term care and retail. Overall, it was about 15.7% increase from the prior month. So you're right, Mark, it's a really good revenue month, all things considered.
Okay, page 22. That's our calculation for the accounts receivable days at the end of July. That says June at the top, that's July. They were 71.8 days, and our accounts payable was at 46.6.
AR days obviously look like they're up a bit. What's going on?
They're actually down. They've been going down, and we're still working through some of the RCM stuff and Medi-Cal stuff.
Yeah.
So it is trending down.
Good.
But it's still high.
Yeah. Good. It's like it's going in the right direction.
Yes.
Okay, good.
On the following page, 23, is our cash collections for the month. It's up against the budget for July. We started with $764,000 cash. We collected $2,603,000. We did have some miscellaneous revenue, about $80,000. Some of it was taxes. Some of it was a donation from the auxiliary to pay for something. We received our manifest medics money in the month also. It's part of the 80. Medi-Cal is high because in June, first part of July, or at the end of June, they hold their payments. So they catch up in July. So Medi-Cal collections are higher because of that. They hold it and then they pay it later in July. We paid out $2,304,000. And with our non-operating or our other reserve cash, we ended the month with $2,246,000. There were 29 days cash on hand. Anybody have any questions? Want to go to page 25? That's our debt service page for the bonds. At the end of July, it was 0.01, the debt service ratio. And the total current ratio was 0.51. That's what the bond requires. The following page are your bond requirements. For the month, we recorded $4,966 in capital equipment. At the bottom of the page, our next payment was August the 1st, which was paid in August. And in July, the Oshkosh advanced the $700,000 portion of the payment to be made. The payment made was $1,475,000 the 1st of August. And our total deposit against that was $1,514,000. So next month, you'll see in August how the payment comes out of there.
What this showing is when that bond paid off, is that the August one? Is that the remaining portion of the bond?
Because you still have payments. It will be paid out this year, but we still have payment August of 2021.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Is that the last payment, or there'll be another couple months of interest?
Let me add one thing to this as well, and that is the one ratio that's not on your ratio page in the past or currently is days cash on hand. And days cash on hand in the bond covenant is 40 days. Now, many of the years in the past, we have not been at 40 days cash on hand. Right now, we have 62 days cash on hand for operations, and in total, because you can't count restricted cash, it's in our investment account, we have 144 days cash on hand currently. I just wanted to bring that up.
Best cash position we've probably ever been in.
Chuck, this is the bond. We owe Cal Mortgage another $6 million or somewhere in that area, $5 million. Where's that at? What is it called? Where can I find it?
That's the notes payable.
Under notes payable? Where's that at?
I think it'll be a little bit later.
Could we identify that a little better? We owe $1 million a year.
It's on the one something.
28. Where's it at?
So that's something else right on top.
Oh,
It's up there. Yeah. You have one?
yeah. It's down on the bottom of long-term liabilities because it's not yet due. It's the third one down the next table. That's the easiest place to see it.
Okay, so we still have $6 million, which is roughly $1 million a year in stuff on previous construction. Although the bond's going to be paid off in front of you, still have
You're still
okay. Okay. Thank you.
And that's it. The next page is your local vendor list. If you have questions on it.
Now, is that one use of water? It's sort of.
Yes, it is. It doesn't.
Why is the water so expensive?
Hey, Barbara,
All
could you-
water.
No, this is
It's just our rain water.
coming in the faucet.
And so on.
Barbara,
Yes.
And,
could you tell us what page number it is so that I can,
27.
thank you.
that's 10,000. That's for a month.
No, it's bi-monthly. It's 13 months. They bill us every month. A lot.
We're about 5. Apparently, Scott is willing to the other side of much reduced rate water, normal water, unprocessed. For gardening and stuff.
Me and I talked about that. The water that's in that tank across the street from us. We just have to figure out if we're going to get it on the road. He's willing to donate that to the hospital. So we and I are having some conversation about that. And we can use that for all of our watering and farm stuff. That's the one big thing that I'm so pleased with how well we've been able to keep the grounds looking, obviously haven't donated the land. So we offered that to us. So it's okay. So I'm trying to figure out how to work all that out.
Now, Chairman might want to discuss these two pages.
Check. Are you on?
Chet?
Yes.
Okay, you got your 2 pages of cash receipts or cash flow variance.
cash flow variance?
Yeah.
Or the bottom of the page we talked about? Just trying to hear.
Do that you sent over late.
You can't see.
Yes, I did add. If that's what we're talking about, okay. If you're talking about the cash flow variance analysis?
Yes.
Right? Okay. What the cash flow variance analysis tells us is that this takes the last 12 months, and it takes what we budget over the last 12 months. It doesn't stop at fiscal year end. It actually is rolling. So it's a rolling 12-month budget versus actual. And what it tells us is the cash receipts over the last 12 months, we were actually $10.6 million ahead of our budget that the board had approved over that 12-month period through actually, in this particular case, July 2020. So if you look at the detail, the majority of the increases over our budget were from March through June. And from March through June is where we actually picked up the IGT, we picked up the HHS from the COVID, and we even picked up some of the borrowed funds from payroll protection, et cetera. Some of those basically, so that's what really caused the $10 million excess was money coming in from non-operations, for the most part entirely. If you look at the next section, what it is it's the disbursements for operations over the last 12 months. And in disbursements for operations over the last 12 months, you can see that there's 3.6 that we actually spent more than what we had anticipated in those particular months. If you look also at the detail where those happened, they happened pretty much in the same months that we actually got excess money. So in those same months that we got excess money for operations down, not including anything for non-operating, we actually spent a fair amount of money, almost $1 million in one of the particular months in April. I can tell you that those things come from registry, number one, nursing registry. Well, not just nursing, but registry, number one. Number two, pharmaceuticals over budget. And number three, information systems, software over budget. Those are the three areas where we have exceeded budget. If you go down to the bottom, you can see that that's the non-operating. Okay, so this is the last 12 months through July of what we did for non-operating. And we actually, in non-operating, dispersed $7.3 million more than we had anticipated. Now, if you look at where that came, that also came for the most part in just 2 months, April and May. And this does include money that we set aside in late. So our late balance, actually, if you take that difference, the $7.3 million in non-operating and the $3.8 million in operations, there's your $10 million excess that you got in receipts. So what it did was, of the $10 million extra dollars we got, we blew 4 of it in operations, 6 of it we put into reserves for the most part, with also paying a little bit of extra that we did when we paid off paid down the line of credit and paid off the bond payment in advance. And that's what this basically tells us what's happening and what we're doing with our cash. Now, did you want to talk about the comparative analysis of hospital liabilities at all? Because there isn't really much in that one.
Go ahead.
The only thing that really is changed there for the most part is the third-party liabilities. And the third-party liabilities effectively are a function of some of these monies coming in, some of which will have to be paid back. But outside of that, things are pretty copacetic. We did go up a little bit in payables, which means that we put more out there. That again, that's part of the operations that we talked about, and that's really those two reports. If you want to talk about product lines, I don't have the product lines ready yet this month. I will, and the analysis, the variance analysis will incorporate those. But I can tell you there are only 2 areas in product lines of concern. It used to be that we were concerned about med-surg, but right now the way they're doing it and putting, like this morning, we have 11 patients in medical surgical. You get over 10 patients, you're going to make money in med-surg all the time. It's because of the nature of our staffing and the nature of our physicians guarantees, et cetera. So right now, if I had to stop and show you med-surg, effectively, we would be making money after July, probably with July and August. So the situation there is fine. It's our skilled nursing, where again, we continue to spiral downward in our census. I don't know where that's going to hit bottom, but at some point,
Chet, the census is spiraling down. A lot of that census is in the acute unit. So you got 3 patients over there that belong on the other side right now.
What you got there is no matter what you did, we're now very close to the cap. There's a cap on reimbursement, and it's about $450 a day. We used to run about 200. I'm not saying we should run 200, but we basically are being reimbursed. Barbara, correct me if I'm wrong, about 280, 285.
Correct.
And it's costing us right now well over $400 a day, and there is a cap. So the cap is about 450. We're going to exceed that cap fairly shortly if we haven't already done so in August. So that one is a major, major concern. And the other one is surgery. We're losing about $100,000 a month because of the fixed costs, mostly related to not variable costs, but fixed costs, meaning the original construction and the amount of overhead that has to be allocated in there based upon the cost of the total cost of that particular project. And that one there's only 2 ways to do it. Get basically more surgeries in, which we've been trying to do for years. And the second part is reposition that so that some of the square footage goes for something else. And in that regard, you can mitigate some of that $100,000 a month. And I think that's about it.
But Chad, a lot of that's due to COVID. We couldn't have surgeries for a while, and so the figure, although we need to increase it, it's not really accurate.
It does. All we did, Gene, we closed it, then we brought back pretty much what we had been doing before, which is just the endoscopies and maybe 3 or 4 general surgeries a month. That's not going to do it. It will, because of the fixed cost. Again, it's not variable cost; it's fixed cost.
Right.
So the situation is, when you bring in that additional small volume that you had before, you're also bringing the variable costs, meaning circulating nurse, scrub nurse, whatever you might have to have. So those variable costs pretty much take care of that difference, and you're not really taking much out of your overhead away. So I'm saying you're still going to run between 60, probably 65, maybe. I'll get to the final number, and $100,000 lost a month until you do those 2 things: either repositioning the square footage or getting new surfaces in for surgery.
We are in the process of talking with the orthopedist right now, Dr. Grimes. As a matter of fact, I know the staff was on the phone with him yesterday. They're going down to see him Friday to observe some of his cases down there, and he's very anxious to come up here and start doing some business. And then we had a meeting yesterday from as part of our strategic plan team to take a look at some other options. And one of the things that was brought up was trying to figure out how to maybe get ophthalmology back, so we can start doing some, corneas and retinas and stuff like that. What am I trying to say? Cataract. Thank you. That's cataract surgery. And again, with our aging population up here, that there should be a lot of that business up here to do. So
we're also looking at some pulmonary procedural things with Dr. Ahmed.
Dr. Ahmed too. Right.
I was wondering, Mark, I knew we were looking at Bronx. Do you think he'll do them in the OR, or will he do them at bedside?
I would say that we should have those done in the OR.
Right.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I just wondered. Kim, one more question.
Yeah.
You have to still have that chair position coming to the SNF, right?
Yes, we do, Dr. Bailey. Yeah.
Is there any debridement or things like that that could be done in the OR that he's not doing? Or he's doing it better?
Actually, good question. I'll have to check with Sally. Yes, we could do them in there. That shouldn't be a problem at all.
And the thing about the chair is he'll get paid the same, and we'll get extra money out of it. He'll do it that way.
Right, exactly.
One of the problems is moving those residents out of their rooms. You've got a COVID concern, and they're not wanting to move those residents out and back too. So we might have to have that discussion too.
Yeah.
If they go to a clean environment like the OR, I don't see any reason why they couldn't go right back.
Right. So, and we're going to meet after this meeting on that. So.
I just got a text from Tiffany. She's on her way back. She'll be dialing in very soon.
Okay, is that pretty much your report, Chet? Are you going to go over anything else?
Chet, anything else?
No, not from me. It's not today.
Okay.
Okay, Chet, I got a question for you. You've been around longer than I have. Hopefully, you're around a lot longer than I am on this board. But we approved Greenbelt contract at the board meeting, and anything over $15,000 is supposed to have comparison or looked at it, being prudent, just to either have someone look at it or something. And Scott's not here.
Yeah, I think I can address that. Again, we had Scott address that earlier on because Mike's been doing business with us now for almost 6-7 years, working on various stages of our plan and so forth. And so, I mean, that was all vetted earlier on and so forth. And so when this one came up, the contract came up, I specifically asked him about that. He said, because of the specific nature of what they're doing and the detail work involved in that, you almost have to stay with the same person because otherwise you'd be starting from scratch. Because the way it works with architects, the architects own their intellectual property, which is their plans and so forth.
But they're starting over. This is new.
Well, the point is, the work he's doing is stuff that he's been working on for almost 5 years, So
I know, but sometimes you can get in a rut, and pretty soon, we're in a rut.
Okay.
Could we get another architect, just to look, an expert, just to look at it and say that this is reasonable?
I don't know that any other architect would look at another architect's work and tell that.
Okay, I'd like to get Scott's opinion on
That'd be fine.
at the board meeting.
Sure.
If we can.
I'll get a hold of him before that and have him take a look at that. Hopefully we'll have something to tell you.
And Chet, while we're talking, you made a comment that was a factor in us approving that. Yes, we can afford that 18 million or 16 or 20 or whatever it was.
1 million.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the total project.
Oh, total project, yeah. 19.
And so we need a report from you on where the money's coming from and how we're paying it and what's going on and how, if we finance it. When you said we can afford it, you must have had in mind how we can afford it. Can you do something for us on a report showing what the costs are going to be and where the end revenue is going to pay for it? You see what
actually, that's the bottom of the report for the Building and Planning Committee. You'll see that every month.
Yeah, we need it. Also, the Building Planning Committee, those figures go up and down, and they really don't mean a lot. And so.
What we did, Gene, was we broke it down into a simple sheet. We pulled out, because that was one of the things the board requested from me, and we've got that done, where we literally broke everything out by the 9 phases, and so we have an actual cost associated with, what the construction costs are, what the soft costs are going to be, and then the whole thing. So I'll shoot you a copy of this.
And the revenue also.
Well, this is just the actual build the cost.
Just
at the very bottom of that report, Chet had, again, because we had a conference call yesterday, to talk about that. And so Chet in his plan, at the bottom of one of his reports there, he actually put where the money are going to come from.
Okay.
And so forth. So we'll get that pulled to you. We're trying to pull it on one simple sheet to make it easier to see.
That'll be awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Chad.
Yep.
Mark, do you just want to go over Tiffany's if she's not on yet? Mark.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm back.
Okay. You want to just go ahead and start Tiffany's? You know what's going on there.
You actually don't.
The issue is this is what happened is the refrigerator that we have in the cafeteria. We have a big 6 foot high, 8 foot high, double wide refrigerator in there that they use for putting the trays in for serving the patient and employee meals and so forth. That refrigerator apparently is shot, can't be replaced, and so we needed to do that. And so that's in essence what this bit here was for.
Can't be repaired. It needs to be. It's probably more efficient than doing anything.
Exactly.
The explanation is in the justification there.
And this is the only supplier that we could find in Kern County that could actually get this done with using commercial equipment.
Yeah,
And so,
motion to put it on consumer.
yeah, let's put it on the facility. Okay, second that.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
Oh, man.
That's it.
That's it.
My
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
You want to go?
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
Short list. Abbott Point of Care got service on some of the laboratory equipment for ISAP. The annual fee, $3,200.
now what?
Can't hear you, Deb.
It's 28.
28.
So this is just a maintenance on this?
Yes, service agreement. Atlas Business Solutions is Scheduled Anywhere. That's the program they use for scheduling all the nursing staff. It runs $3,500 annually. EITI is a service, and it's the monitoring service we're currently using throughout for cold storage utility. You can track all the temperatures and refrigerators, $1,500 annually. Fusion Healthcare is a registry service used as needed and have various rates depending on usage. General Water Technologies is the water analyzer feed system for descaling, and that's in the laboratory also. One of their machines has to have extremely clean water running through it. It's $3,500. That's also a service agreement.
The next one I'm actually very good. I'm sure that we do.
Oh,
I had Scott review this. Yeah, Scott made some changes to this, and we do need to get a BAA on this as well. So I'll check with it.
We're going
We're going to pull the managed care advisor. That's a contract primarily that we use to go out and do these class action lawsuits where there's a product issue or something like that that's come up and someone's getting sued. So they represent us and they assist us in doing all the legwork to get the reimbursement back. And for that, they can get a fee for that.
next
So that
one.
one's cool.
I'm going to pull that because, yeah, we have some new
We'll
language.
bring it
there.
back.
I'll be here next month.
MSDS is medical safety data sheets. They're not sheets anymore. It's a following service, $750 annually. For compliance issue, they require to have access to any kind of chemical, what we need to do, chemical safety. Quantros is the safety and risk program software that we're using. It's $14,000 annually. And the RLT fire protection is the service on the fire sprinklers throughout the hospital. They come around quarterly and inspect all our sprinklers to make sure that they're functioning. And it's $2,700.
We had one that disappeared off of here, I think on the radio switch. Well, and then we said renegotiate after.
We're waiting until after
The strategic planning, and all the community
So,
feedback.
so what I'm trying to establish is we're month to month right now, right?
Yeah.
We were on 30 days notice cancellation. We could cancel anytime we need. So right now that one is just on hold until month to month forever until
after our strategic plan.
right. Okay.
And that's all.
And did we miss anything yet?
With those to consider, with the exception of the managed care.
Right. Second that.
Okay. Did we miss anything else? And you've been around.
I noticed on the last one that we pulled out the fence that
You've been around, it seems like forever.
that did not go to the board, correct? We pulled it off of the board or no?
Are,
Oh, no, okay, so we need to make sure. we
are
get
you
that.
on the new board yet with the
That's
hospital
not,
down there?
I don't want to lose track.
No, it was just an inquiry. They have an election next year, but they wanted to consider me as a
Yeah,
candidate.
Chad and I are talking about that.
Can we get reimbursement from them for training you?
I don't think so. I think it'd be a conflict of interest.
Okay. Is that pretty much it, Kim?
That's it.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jack.
Kim, can I talk to you for a
You
minute?
bet.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Heidi.